Taking your Jeep off-road without the right prep can turn a fun weekend into a $5,000 repair bill, or something much worse. From tire pressure and four-low to recovery gear most Jeep owners use completely wrong, these are 12 things you must do before hitting the trail. And number 1 is a mistake that can literally get someone killed. Number 12 is your fire extinguisher and first aid kit. This one sounds boring until your hot exhaust brushes dry brush in the desert. That's how trail fires start out there. A Jeep in low range is a hot engine, a hot exhaust, and a full tank of gas bouncing over rocks. Help is nowhere near you. So carry a small extinguisher mounted where you can grab it fast, not buried under gear in the back. Get one rated for gas and electrical fires. That's the ABC class, and it's what you actually need for a Jeep on the trail. Pair it with a real medical kit. Get the kind with a tourniquet and pressure bandages, not the cartoon band-aids sitting in your glove box. If someone slices open a leg on a boulder, minutes matter. No ambulance is rolling up to a trail marker in the mountains. That's why this one lives at the bottom of the list. It's the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy for your family. Skip it once, and I promise you'll never skip it again. And believe me, it's not even close to the wildest miss on this whole list. Sitting at number 11 is your food, water, and backup fuel. Now this is where new Jeep owners get cocky on paper. A 10-mile trail sounds like nothing at all. But 10 miles in low range at 3 miles an hour is over 3 hours of engine time. One wrong turn or one stuck buddy turns 3 hours into 8 fast. You need way more water than you think. Bring real food that won't melt into goo and a jerry can of gas, because crawling in 4 low burns fuel like a fire hose. People have died sitting in their Jeeps waiting for rescue. They didn't break down at all. They ran out of water sitting in the hot summer sun. Don't be that story on the 6 o'clock news. And the wildest thing is, the guys who bring the most water almost never need any of it. Trail rangers see this exact mistake every single weekend. Rolling into number 10 is your fluid check before you leave home. However, checking fluids isn't just popping the hood and glancing at the oil dipstick. You're going into terrain that shakes every bolt, tilts every reservoir, and dumps water into places water shouldn't ever go. So check your engine oil, your coolant, and your brake fluid. But also check the 2 things nobody checks: your transfer case and your front and rear differential fluid. On a JL Wrangler, the transfer case holds about 1 3/4 liters of ATF. Each diff holds about a quart of gear oil. If any of that fluid looks milky brown instead of clean, that's water contamination from your last water crossing. It means your axle bearings are already dying inside. Change it before you leave, not after you're broken down 40 miles from cell service. This one takes 10 minutes, and it saved thousands of guys from $5,000 rebuilds. Nobody teaches this at the dealership either. Grab number 9, your spare tire and jack. So this is the part everyone forgets. Your spare has been hanging on the back of your Jeep for 3 years untouched. Go check it right now. 9 times out of 10, it's half flat, the jack tools are missing, and the lug wrench doesn't even fit your aftermarket wheels. Fill your spare to full street pressure, about 37 psi on a stock JL. That way, if you shred a sidewall on a sharp rock, you can bolt it on and drive home without a scary wobble. Also, if you're running bigger tires than stock, your spare needs to match those in size. A different size spare on a 4-wheel drive Jeep stresses your lockers and your diffs. You can cook a whole axle just trying to drive back to the trailhead. 10 minutes in your driveway saves a tow bill that'll make you cry. That leads to number 8, your offline map and route plan. But this is where a $50 app might literally save your life. Cell service dies the second you leave the highway. Any map app that needs signal is useless out there. Download an app like OnX Offroad or Gaia GPS. Save the trail map while you're still on Wi-Fi at home. Then test it in airplane mode in your driveway before you leave. If it doesn't work at home with no signal, it won't work on the trail. Also, the second rule is even simpler. Tell one person your route and when you plan to be back. Search and rescue teams don't come looking for people they don't know are missing. That one text to your wife is the difference between rescue by dinner and a freezing night on the mountain. Simple move, huge upside for you. Quick pause. If you want your Jeep to last hundreds of thousands of miles, grab my 500,000-mile Jeep blueprint below. It covers the maintenance, fluids, common failures, and preventative fixes that can save you thousands in repairs. Hit the link in the description below. Cruising into number 7 is your skid plate inspection. Now these are the metal shields under your Jeep. Stock Wranglers come with pretty thin ones from the factory, so crawl under your rig with a flashlight and look at 4 things: your oil pan, your transmission, your transfer case, and your fuel tank. The factory JL oil pan is stamped aluminum. That's basically a soda can compared to a jagged rock. One direct hit and you're leaking oil on the dirt with a cracked engine on a Saturday. If you're on a Sport or Sahara, your armor is thin. Aftermarket skids from names like Rock Hard or Rugged Ridge are worth every dollar. Rubicons come with more factory protection built in, but even those aren't bulletproof against a bad line. So crawl under, check for dents, and tighten any bolts that feel sloppy. Trail vibration backs those bolts out every single ride. A torque wrench and 10 minutes catch trouble before it eats your oil pan. Because the second you high center on a boulder, that thin plate is the only thing between success and a $1,200 tow. And by the way, number 1 is the mistake that killed Ryan Woods. Keep watching for that. Halfway home, number 6 is your radio and satellite setup. CB radios are basically dead in 2026. Your cell phone is a fancy paperweight the second you drop into a canyon. So a modern trail rig needs 2 things: a GMRS radio for talking to your group and other Jeeps on the mountain, plus a satellite communicator like a Garmin InReach for real emergencies. GMRS is way stronger than CB. It reaches over 20 miles with a repeater, and the FCC license is only $35 for 10 whole years. No exam and no test to pass. Your whole family is covered under that one license. However, the satellite device is the one that actually saves lives. It doesn't need cell towers to send an SOS or a short message home. Rangers will tell you the number 1 reason people die on remote trails is that they can't call for help fast enough. So solve that problem for the price of one nice dinner. Now we hit number 5, the Off-Road Plus mode. If you're driving a newer JL Rubicon, you have a button called Off-Road Plus. Most owners have no clue what it actually does. Press it in 4-wheel high, and the Jeep loosens up its traction control so your tires can spin a little in sand and snow. That's exactly what you need to keep momentum. Press it in 4 low, and the whole system retunes for slow rock crawling. You get more precise throttle control, and the rear axle locks automatically. Also, cruise control shuts off when you press it. Cruise control on a rock is how Jeeps end up upside down in a ditch. On older Wranglers without this button, know that regular traction control will fight you in deep sand or mud by killing power to the spinning wheel. So learn how to turn it off before you're stuck, not once you're up to your fenders in mud. This one button separates guys who make it home from guys who wait for a winch. Coming in at number 4 is knowing when to use 4H versus 4L. Now this is the mistake that costs new Jeep owners a full transfer case rebuild in one weekend. 4-wheel high is for slippery roads, loose dirt, snow, and light trail stuff. 4-wheel low is for slow, technical, steep stuff where you need torque, not speed. The Jeep manual is very clear on the rules. To shift between 2 high and 4 high, back off the gas and shift under 45 miles an hour. But to shift into 4 low, you need to be rolling at 2 or 3 miles an hour. Put it in neutral if you have an automatic and shift firm. Don't pause the shifter halfway. Don't slam it in at highway speed either. And once you're in 4 low, never go over 25 miles an hour. You'll cook the whole transfer case in 10 minutes. The number of guys who've killed a $2,000 transfer case because they were too lazy to slow down and shift right is honestly heartbreaking. Getting to number 3, your sway bar disconnect. Your sway bar is the metal rod under your front axle. It keeps your Jeep from tipping over in corners on the pavement. But off-road, it becomes the enemy. It stops your front tires from flexing over rocks and keeping grip. If you're on a JL Rubicon, you have a magic button that unhooks it electronically the second you're in 4-wheel low. Non-Rubicon guys can install manual disconnects from Evo or JKS for about $100. So watch this trap almost nobody warns you about. The electronic disconnect on the Rubicon automatically hooks back up at 18 miles an hour. That means on flowy dirt roads, it's clicking on and off without you knowing. You hit a rock at 19 miles an hour with a locked sway bar and lose all your flex right when you need it. Watch your speed like a hawk. Watch your dash light too. And if you're rock crawling, keep the pace slow enough that the bar stays open. Also, number 1 is still coming, and it's the wildest one on this whole list. Sliding into number 2, and this one changes everything, is airing down your tires. So your street pressure is about 37 psi on a stock JL. On the trail, that's completely wrong for grip. When you air your tires down to around 15 psi, the tire flattens out on the ground. The contact patch gets 3 times longer. Suddenly, your Jeep grips rocks and sand like a totally different vehicle. Guys who own Jeeps for years and never try this can't believe the difference on their first real run. It's the single biggest upgrade you can make in 5 minutes for $0. That's not an exaggeration at all. On sand, drop way down to 12 or 15 psi. On rocks, aim for the same range. On loose gravel roads, 20 is just fine for the ride. But whatever you do, don't go below 12 psi on stock wheels without beadlocks. Your tire can pop off the rim and leave you stranded on 3 wheels in the middle of nowhere. Air back up to 37 psi before you hit the highway home. Low pressure at highway speeds destroys tires, warps sidewalls, and can flip a Jeep in a hard corner. This one simple move will make you feel like you bought a new Wrangler. And finally, number 1, the rated recovery points that could have saved Ryan Woods' life. Now remember Ryan Woods from the start of this video. He was a 43-year-old father of 3 from Kingman, Arizona. On July 26, 2022, he was pulling a stuck Ford Super Duty out of the mud with his own rig. His crew hooked a chain across the Ford's factory recovery points. They ran a big 3-inch tow strap, and they connected the other end to a drop hitch with a 2-inch ball on the pulling truck. That drop hitch had a rating for towing a trailer down the highway. It had 0 rating for the 18,000 pounds of pull force it took to yank that stuck truck out of the mud. When they added momentum for the pull, that hitch ripped clean off. It flew through the air like a bullet. It came through Ryan's windshield straight at his face. His wife and kids were in the truck with him. He didn't make it home that day. So learn this one from him, and never forget the price he paid. First, your Jeep's factory tow loops that hang down from your bumper aren't rated for recovery pulls. They exist for the tow truck driver to drag your Jeep onto a flatbed. Real recovery points are the bolted-on shackle mounts from Warn, Factor 55, or on the front of a Rubicon steel bumper. They're rated to 12,000 pounds of pull force. Second, use a kinetic rope, not a static strap. A kinetic rope from a brand like Bubba Rope stretches 30% and releases the energy smoothly into the stuck rig. A static strap has no give at all. It shock loads your hardware until something explodes. Third, never, ever hook a recovery strap to a hitch ball, a tow ball, or a drop hitch. It's the #1 killer in off-road recovery, full stop. Fourth, use closed system hardware like a screw pin bow shackle or a soft shackle. Skip the winch hook with a flimsy safety latch, because those latches pop open under slack and turn steel hooks into flying knives. And finally, drape a heavy blanket over the middle of the rope, or use a proper line dampener during the pull. Because if that rope snaps under tension, that dampener drops it to the ground instead of letting it whip back through your windshield at Ryan Woods speeds. This is the #1 thing on this whole list for one reason. Get every other one wrong, and you get stuck for a few hours. Get this one wrong, and somebody dies on the trail. So before you hit the trail, prepare the Jeep before the trail tests it for you. A few minutes checking your gear, tires, fluids, and recovery setup can save you from getting stranded, or much worse. Drop a comment below. What's the one thing you never hit the trail without? And if you want more Jeep tips every owner should know, click the video on screen right now. Subscribe for more Jeep content, and I'll see you in the next one.